2020. In today's video, I'm going to look back on what's probably been the most stressful, difficult and hardest years any of us will ever experience. So for the last time this year, as we always do, let's crack on. So in 2020, let's support and encourage each other, be positive and try to push ourselves to being the best photographers that we can be, because everything that we want to become is there for us if we work hard and we believe in ourselves. Now, when I made that video exactly a year ago now, I was expecting to photograph 25 weddings in 2020. I ended up shooting 4. But before we talk about the impact that 2020 has had on weddings, I have to start with thanking the doctors, nurses and key workers who have literally kept the world running these past few months. Due to my own family needing the help of the NHS over the past few years, I've long known that our NHS staff are absolute heroes. But this year they've just pulled out all the stop, so a huge and heartfelt thank you. Now, I'm going to be very open and honest in this video about this roller coaster of a year, but before we get into that, here is just a little slideshow of some of my favourite photographs from this crazy, bizarre and unique year. So the year started really well. I shot Faye and Woody's wedding in February and then Lauren and Rick's wedding in March. And those were both amazing days. It was an absolute privilege to be a part of them. Then I had 4 workshops in March. But in the lead up to those workshops, it became increasingly obvious that we were basically in the last days of normality. The first 3 workshops did go ahead, but just 3 days before the 4th workshop, the UK went into lockdown and well, everything for everyone just turned upside down. Now, I'd like to think that I'm quite a mentally strong person. I've had lots of tough times personally, as we all have, but one thing which has always been a constant for me has been my business. But in March this year, it really felt as though my business was under very real threat. At the very point where I was about to enter a really busy wedding season, I went from looking forward to shooting another 23 weddings in 2020 to the reality of just shooting 2 more. Now, at this point, I'd like to say a big thank you to my bride and grooms. The weddings which they had been planning for months were suddenly just taken away from them. In some cases within just a couple of weeks of them actually happening, but literally every single one of my couples were amazing. We worked together to move their dates to next year and beyond, and worked as a team to make everything as seamless as possible. And because of this, I now feel really close to my future couples, much closer than I normally would. So I'd like to thank them all. And for my couples who are watching this video, I promise you that when your weddings do take place, I'm going to do my absolute everything to make each of those weddings the best that I have ever shot. Your days are going to be incredible, and believe me, I can't wait for them. But Talking to so many disappointed and upset couples was mentally really hard. On top of that, almost overnight, I was faced with losing potentially 90% of my annual income. And to make matters worse, very much worse, due to the way that my business is structured, I'm a limited company, my business was deemed not eligible for any financial support from the government unless I furloughed myself and literally stopped working, which for me was just never going to be an option. Now, I don't mind admitting that the injustice and unfairness of that was crippling. Even now, a full 9 months since the start of all this, my business has not received a single penny in support from the government. And that was the lowest point for me. The realisation that the job which I love so much was under real threat. On top of the fear of the virus and how it could affect my family, together with the difficulty of adapting to a completely different lifestyle, I had virtually no income. Now, mentally, I was really struggling at that point, as I think we all were, and I will always be really grateful to my family and friends for being there to support me through that time. And at that time, in May, I made this video.
But most importantly, if you're like me and you love being a wedding photographer, and why wouldn't you? It is the best job in the world. Don't give up. Now, right now, is the time to fight for it.
Those words were meant to help everyone who was in a similar position, but to be honest, I was saying them to myself. I had spent 15 years building up my wedding photography business and I was going to fight for it. The government weren't supporting me, but I knew that the best way to respond was to work harder than I ever have before to build my business into something which no one could take away from me. So I set myself a target at that point of being able to say at the end of the year that from a business point of view, 2020 would be a blessing in disguise, but I knew that was going to take a lot of work. So I started throwing myself into making more and better YouTube videos. Even if I couldn't go outside, I made it my mission to carry on making content which I hoped others would enjoy. Rather than wedding videos, they were self-portraits, and rather than real bride and grooms, I called on Elsa for help. And then, as soon as we were allowed, I set up shoots outside again. Making those videos was really giving me purpose. Work is important to me, so making video gave me the ability to work. And since that video in May, I've now uploaded 38 videos to my YouTube channel, and thank you for watching them, because it was receiving so many nice comments that really pushed me on, so a huge thank you for your support. But it was also in May that I created what really has been the silver lining of 2020 for my business. I set up my Patreon. Building an additional income was obviously essential, but it was just as important for my mental health, and I hope the mental health of the members, that we built a supportive and helpful community of wedding photographers from all around the world, and I could not be prouder of what the community has become since then. The Patreon gave me a real purpose to work. I've made countless videos for the Patreon. The Facebook group has become incredible, with everyone supporting each other, and 3 times a month for the past 6 months we've held Patreon live streams. Not only have the streams been great fun and a brilliant way for us all to interact and help each other, but they've also been massively educational as well, especially the wedding industry expert live streams, where we've been joined by photographers, videographers and other wedding suppliers who are all willing to share their knowledge and advice with everyone. So a huge thank you to everyone who has been a part of that. I could not be prouder of the Patreon community, and I'll be doing my absolute best to continue growing that community into not only one of the best and largest resources of wedding photography education available, but also into a community where everybody feels comfortable to ask questions and feel supported. The community part of it has just blown me away, and for that, an absolutely massive thank you to each and every member of the Patreon. You are all amazing. There are so many people I don't just want to thank in this video, but who I need to thank. My family and friends, my bride and grooms, Magmod, who was just incredible in their support this year, my Patreon community, and also to you, my subscribers, for watching my videos and always leaving such nice and encouraging comments. If I've learned one thing this year, it's that the best way to get through tough times is by getting through those tough times together. And not that it needed reinforcing, but 2020 has also proved to me that I love my job. I love weddings, I love my workshops, I love making videos, and I love being a part of my Patreon community. And when I said back in May that now was the time to fight for our businesses, I'm really proud to say that I did fight for it. It's only when something is taken away from you that you really understand how much it means. I've really missed shooting weddings this year, but it's only made me more determined to make sure that everything that I do in the future is better. So bring on 2021. But there is only one way to finish this video, and that is to again say a huge thank you. I can never say it enough to the NHS and to all the medical professionals around the world who have worked tirelessly for the good of us all. You are all heroes. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in 2021.